she might call me Edward, but I sure wouldn't answer to it." He laughed loudly at his own joke, and then coughed to catch his breath. She leaned back, unsure of what germs he might spew at her, although the wind would quickly carry anything away. Being raised with 2 doctors as parents had given her way too much information about viruses and bacteria. Her mother, a noted epidemiologist, had worked at the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta for almost a decade before moving to New York City for more hands-on work at a research lab. Her father, before their big, ugly divorce, had been a neurosurgeon specializing in hard-to-treat brain tumors before dying of one himself 6 years ago. Irony wasn't always funny. "Nice to meet you, Eddie," she said, as Jeremy quickly loaded her luggage onto the back of the golf cart. After seeing Eddie's driving capabilities, she wondered how it would stay on without flying off into the tornado-like winds. Surely, some dolphin would use her makeup bag as a flotation device before long. His hand, both sweaty and sticky at the same time, enveloped hers. She'd been petite her whole life, relegated to the top position of the pyramid in cheerleading, and always the one everybody wanted to pick up like some kind of baby. Being only 5'2" meant always needing a step stool and working hard to get anyone to take her seriously. After the year she'd had, her reputation was of great importance to her. This job would give her the opportunity to rebuild her life, if that was even possible. "Hop on! I'll take you over to your cottage." He wiggled his big body back behind the steering wheel, much to Danielle's amazement. One button, already barely hanging on, finally popped open, his hairy belly button region on full display. She sat down next to him, her head turned so she wouldn't see that again. "Hang on!" As they zipped down the small streets, the first thing Danielle noticed was how clean this place was. There were no trash bins on the streets, if they could even be called streets. They were more like paved pathways, only large enough for golf carts and bicycles. Of course, there were no cars here, and certainly no easy way to get one to the island. At just over 5,000 acres, the small island had been uninhabited and undeveloped until 3 years ago, when a very wealthy tech entrepreneur had come up with an idea that seemed crazy at the time. The media had a field day with it, from what Danielle found while doing her research. Of course, she'd been busy working at the hospital, so she had paid little attention to the news back then. Now, here she was, zipping around the island and wondering if she'd made the right choice. After all, it wasn't like she didn't have choices. None of them had allowed her to disappear from her problems like this one would. "Your place is just around this bend," he said, reaching his arm across her chest, being careful not to actually touch her. "Hang on," he repeated. She reached up and held onto a bar that stretched across the ceiling of the golf cart, not wanting to reach forward and have this strange man's hands on her breasts. That wouldn't have been a great way to start her first day. Without warning, he slammed on the brakes, coming to a screeching halt in front of a small cottage. The first word that popped into her mind was weathered, although that was being kind. It reminded her of when her mother had gone through that farmhouse phase, redecorating everything in their kitchen to look old and worn, even though they lived in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Atlanta. Of course, it didn't last. Before long, she was replacing everything with ornate gold frames and crystal chandeliers. This little place was truly weathered, and she didn't understand. Everything else in sight was brand new, with bright white or yellow paint. In fact, it all looked like a movie set from the 1950s. She fully expected to see a milkman delivering on the street at any moment. Not surprisingly, there was also wisteria everywhere, planted in yards and sometimes running up the sides of buildings. The island was awash in purple. I don't mean to be ungrateful, but," she said slowly as Eddie slid out of the cart. "Yeah, she needs some fixin', but her bones are good." "Her bones?" "The original owner of this island, a Mr. Herman Lanafort, built this house for himself and his mistress back in 1928. His mistress? As the story goes, Mr. Lanafort was very rich. He had a mansion in Atlanta somewhere, but he bought this island to spend time, quality time, with his mistress, Roxy Lou. Danielle stepped out of the cart and stood there, trying to decide between hijacking the golf cart to get back to the boat or forcing herself to stay.